What if the things you fear the most aren't actually the things you're scared of? Imagine this. You're afraid of heights. But is it really the towering altitude that scares you, or the potential fall? Perhaps you dread the dark, but is it the absence of light that frightens you, or what might lurk within it? Are we afraid of the objects themselves, or the potential consequences they represent? To understand this, we need to delve into the fascinating world of psychology. Imagine you're walking alone in a dark alley late at night. Your heart pounds in your chest like a drum, echoing the rhythm of your quickening footsteps. You feel a chill crawl up your spine, your palms dampen with sweat, and your senses heighten. Every shadow seems to dance, every sound seems amplified. This is fear in its rawest form, an orchestra of physiological responses playing a symphony of survival. But let's pause for a moment and ask ourselves, what is really happening here? Well, you've just experienced what we call the fight or flight response. It's an ancient mechanism embedded deep within our brains, a primal reaction to perceived danger. Imagine our ancestors living in an era where danger lurked at every corner. Saber-toothed tigers, mammoths, rival tribes, threats were abundant. In such situations, the body didn't have the luxury of time. It had to react instantly. And so, the fight or flight response was born, a survival tool honed by millions of years of evolution. So what exactly happens during this response? Let's break it down. The moment you perceive a threat, your brain sends a distress signal to your adrenal glands. They respond by pumping adrenaline into your bloodstream. This adrenaline is a potent chemical messenger. It increases your heart rate, pumping more blood to your muscles. It dilates your pupils, letting in more light for better vision. It heightens your senses, preparing you for action. But it doesn't stop there. Your body also releases cortisol, the stress hormone, which helps maintain this heightened state of alertness. Your breathing quickens, supplying more oxygen to your brain. Your muscles tense up, ready to spring into action. You are now primed to either confront the threat or escape from it. And thus, the story of fear unfolds. It's not just about being scared. It's about survival. It's about how our bodies and minds have evolved to respond to danger. It's about the intricate dance between perception, emotion, and physiological response. But why do we react this way? It's all about survival. Fear, at its core, is a protective mechanism. It's an intricate web spun by our minds to safeguard us from potential threats. As we delve into the psychology of fear, we find it deeply rooted in our survival instincts. Imagine you're standing on the edge of a towering cliff, peering down at the ground far below. Your heart pounds in your chest, your palms sweat, and a sense of dread fills you. That's fear, an innate response to a perceived threat. It's your body's way of saying, hold on, this could be dangerous. This fear of heights, known as acrophobia, is one of many such primal fears hardwired into our brains over millions of years of evolution. But not all fears are innate. Some are learned. Take arachnophobia, the fear of spiders, for instance. Generally, spiders are harmless, yet many of us are terrified of these eight-legged creatures. Why? Because we've learned to fear them, often from observing others' fearful reactions or through personal traumatic experiences. Now, let's talk about the brain, the command center of fear. When you encounter something scary, your brain doesn't just sit idly by. Two key players in your brain, the amygdala and the hippocampus, spring into action. The amygdala evaluates the threat, triggering your body's fight or flight response, while the hippocampus, the memory center of your brain, stores this scary experience for future reference. So, the next time you come across a similar situation, your brain will remember it and respond accordingly. But here's an intriguing twist. Sometimes our fears don't stem from any real danger. They're irrational, born out of our own thoughts and imagination. We may fear public speaking more than death itself, or get anxious at the thought of a harmless house spider. Fear, in essence, is a complex interplay of our instincts, experiences, and the inner workings of our brain. It's an integral part of our lives, shaping our behavior and decisions, and sometimes even holding us back. But fear isn't always rational, is it? Ever felt your heart pound at the sight of a harmless spider? It's a peculiar thing, isn't it? How something so insignificant can trigger such a profound response. This, my friends, is the irrationality of fear. It's not always about the size of the threat, but rather our perception of it. Fear, in many cases, can be a result of past experiences or cultural influences. Consider this. We may develop an intense fear of dogs after being bitten as a child. The fear isn't necessarily about the dogs themselves, but the traumatic experience associated with them. It's not the eight-legged creature in the corner of your room that scares you, but the idea of it, its symbolism, its representation of something else entirely. This brings us to the concept of phobias. Phobias are extreme or irrational fears, often not proportionate to the actual danger. They're not just regular fears, they're fears amplified. A person with a phobia might go to great lengths to avoid whatever it is they're afraid of, whether it's spiders, heights, or even open spaces. But here's the kicker. Often our fears are not about the object of fear itself, but what it represents. Fear of heights isn't necessarily about falling, but the loss of control that comes with it. Fear of spiders might be more about the sudden surprise, the unexpected intrusion. So the things we fear the most, are they really what we're afraid of? Fear, as we've explored, is a complex emotion. It's a primal reaction, an essential part of our survival toolkit. It's a fascinating orchestra of physiological responses, from the rapid pounding of our hearts to the chilling sweat on our skin. And yet, it's not just about the raw, physical experience. It's also about the intricate dance of our minds. The psychology of fear, as we've delved into, is a riveting narrative of the human condition. It's about how our past experiences, our memories, our very thoughts and beliefs can shape, distort and amplify our fears. But the most intriguing part, the irrationality of some fears, how we can be utterly terrified of things that pose no real danger to us, how fear can grip us in its vice even when logic and reason scream otherwise. Remember, understanding our fears is the first step to overcoming them. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more enlightening content.